Hello, 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 hello. It's Tamara. I'm so excited to be here with you. Welcome to our live session, mapping out the business model of a legacy business, a digital business that is online. This is a live interactive session. So go ahead and let me know who's here. I can see the chat comments. I'm going to kick off in a moment, but just while we allow everybody to find their links in their email and join us. Hello, Elna. I see you there. Nadia. Hello. Lovely to be here with you. Melanie. Hello. So lovely to see everyone. This is going to be a jam-packed session. And as I said, it's an interactive session. You've probably been to a few webinars before where there's some kind of course for sale at the end. That's not what this is. This is a meet and greet. It's training, yes, but it's also to see who's here, who's in my network, what help do you need. Please feel free to use the chat. You'll see in your chat section, wherever it is, below you, above you, on the side, depending on if you're a phone or on your laptop, there's a Q&A. So there's a place to ask questions. It will help if you write them there. Otherwise, the questions get lost. And I'm going to make sure that I come over there if you've got any questions. Who else is here? We see Cyril, Lucy, Dennis, Karen, Denise, Natalie, a whole bunch of wonderful, spectacular people. I'm so delighted to share space and time with you today. That's really what we're doing, and that's really one of the wonderful things about a digital business. I mean, I just want to take a moment to talk about that. Like, how spectacular is it that we can be here together from wherever you are? Most of you are probably in South Africa because this event is specifically for South Africans, but you might be in my broader network already and decided to pop in and say hi. And how amazing that we can do that. I see some of you coming in from Cape Town. I see a whole bunch of you. That's really, really wonderful. Okay, so a couple of things. I'm going to kick off in a minute. I'm going to share. I have got some slides for you. I'm also going to be using my wonderful Blackboard here, which I love. It's my signature move. My heritage is training, particularly in live workshops in the corporate space. So I love to map. I love to use things. I'll use the space to answer questions, and as I say, it's not a traditional webinar. In fact, hands up, let me know in the comments who has been to a sell from webinar before, where somebody goes through something quite predictable. They spend half of the time talking about themselves and their course, and then the other half of the time through this like a very long pitch, and then just sold the course, which you may or may not have bought. Let's know. Let's have a chat in the comments. Who's been to one of those before? I'd love to know. I'm asking that question for a couple of reasons. One, I'm not selling you anything, but this is a marketing event. This is me getting to know you, because I am filling a mastermind, an exclusive mastermind of women who are going to spend time like this together a lot and meet in various places around the country over the course of 2022 and 2023 as we build our legacy businesses. So you will have an opportunity to apply to get on a call with me to talk about that, but that is the only purpose of this is for me to find 6 women. There's over 300 of you who are at this event today, just 6 women who I'm going to invite to that. So that is straight up why I want to meet you. And what we'll do in that mastermind is we'll find out what your launch method is. And a lot of you, Janice is saying she's been to a lot of them, Ryan saying often, Natalie's saying, yes, me too. Guilty. I've done a lot of those webinars. That was my signature method in my previous business, where I taught people how to use Airbnb, and we'll talk about that a lot. But what's very important, I'm seeing a comment there from Elna saying 2 hours of wasted, which is such a horrible feeling to leave behind in somebody's mind from a marketing perspective. So if you're here, I've been very deliberate in who I've been inviting to this event. You're here if you are ready to do your legacy work. Yes, you might have also come here because you know me or you were curious about a digital business. That's fine. You're still going to get tons of value. But who I'm really specifically speaking to is someone in their, to use words of my own clients, in their third act, in Act 3. And what does that mean, Act 3? In your third act, it means you've been there and done that in your career. Maybe you spent your 20s really proving yourself, getting all the getting the qualifications, working really hard, doing those late hours, and maybe then you spent your 30s and maybe even your 40s getting the accolades and getting pissed off with what's wrong in your industry, and realizing that nobody was going to change it. There was no solution out there. So in your third act, you're ready now to contribute back. You're ready to put your life to work, which you may already have in an offline program. Maybe you've been running workshops, maybe you got keynotes, and you are ready to put that into a digital program. And in the third act, these 3 I's here, I've got a method that I've developed on how you're going to do that. And what we're going to do on this session is I'm going to take you through the 3 I's of your third act. That's how to get influence, how to get income, and how to make that impact that you need. So that's in a nutshell what we're going to be doing today. And we're going to look at different people in the industry who are using different business models, but ultimately in each one, there are very specific phases that I'm going to take you through. So I want, just in case you are feeling like it's too late for you, like maybe you're feeling like, oh, you're not old, I'm in late 40s, in my 50s, I'm in my 60s, I'll never be able to grasp this tech thing, then I've got a bunch to say about that. So you're in the right place, hang around. And if you're feeling like, dear Lord, I cannot buy another huge program where I have to sit for 27 hours and watch videos, then you're also in the right place, because that is not actually what I advocate. There are too many people in the industry selling courses about making courses. So I don't even have a course about making courses. And the reason for that is, there's so many, there's beautiful ones out there. I'll share with you some of the heavyweights, the titans in the course launching industry, the digital business industry, and I'll share with you whose work I use and whose courses I recommend, the ones that I've done and the ones that the clients that I work with do. So I don't sell a course. And the reason for that is, what was missing for me when I got involved in this business was one-on-one help. Somebody who had done this Bloomin' thing before a couple of times, maybe a few hundred even, who I could just ask, hey, is this shitty? Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? What does this page look like? So that is why that is my business model now. I have a service-based business in the course-based industry, because when I started out, and some of you might have heard the story before, back in 2015, when I knew I needed to change my business model. I used to be a corporate trainer. I traveled all over the show. I used to spend a lot of time out of my home, and I wanted to have kids. And I knew there had to be a better way. Although I was very happy and I had a kind of time freedom-based business, you know, in the corporate training world, you're in session training for like, I'm just getting distracted by comments there. Thank you, Lynn. That's very kind. You know, in the corporate training world, you are in session with an audience, you know, 10 days a month. And if you've run that session 100 times, like you do after 10 or 20 years of being in that industry, you don't have to do a whole bunch of prep. So I had a lot of time freedom. But what I didn't have was location, a whole bunch of time. And you were really tech savvy, maybe you could pull it off. But actually, what you needed was somebody to help you. So it was through that frustration and the really serious deadline of me eventually being pregnant 2 years later in 2017 and having to change my business model, that I threw everything at it and I launched an online digital business around how to use Airbnb to make side income, because I had been doing that as a hobby since 2013. So that is like really in a nutshell how it came to be that I learned all these skills. But one thing that the kind of wall that I came up against when I first started on the quest to turn my corporate training content, which by the way was presentation and pitch training, so I do have that background in how to show up and have energy, Lynn. When I realized the power of this business model, I felt like making a course about how to give a presentation was such a unaligned way to have impact in the world. Now, you may be here and you may be really passionate about that, but if I was honest with myself, I was doing that job because of the time freedom and the travel, not because I really just loved helping people learn how to present. So when I realized that this business model had so much impact, that you could literally impact millions of people if you follow the 5 stages that we're going to go through today, I didn't feel like that was the body of work that I wanted to teach. I realized what I was really passionate about was opening people's eyes to the possibility of having location freedom, time freedom, a digital business. And maybe you're at that point as well where you're like, you know what, the work I'm doing is great, but I'm ready for my legacy work. Maybe that's your aha moment. And maybe you're at the point that I was when I first started out and I had that looming deadline of having to get it right because I wanted to be home with my kids. Maybe you're also at the point where you're like, how the hell do I do this? And if you are, fantastic, because that is what we're going to go through today. And essentially, just to jump straight in, there are 5 phases to getting a digital business. There's the influence phase. You must let me know if you can see what I'm writing. I'll come and look in the comments. Then next is the income phase. And then last is the impact phase. This influence, income, impact method in the sequence is very important to understand. Because a lot of people and a lot of the industry will teach you that you start here. You start by chasing the money. You start by very easy and quickly overnight getting an online course and getting tons of income. Thanks, Miranda. Thanks for letting me know. But the reality is, and I've seen this with people who've bought online courses, and I've seen this even with clients that I've been working with, it's not the starting point if you're in this business model for the long game. If you're interested in building a digital business that has all the attractive bells and whistles, you can run it from anywhere. You can impact millions of people. You can make it once, record it once, package it, and sell it over and over again. All the obviously attractive things about an online business. Then you have to think about the fact that you are starting a different business than the one that you have. It might be related to your existing business, but it is a business that you need to put investment in. And our investment mechanisms in our life are our time. There's only 3: our time, our energy, or our money. And some combination of those 3, you need to get into the mind shift of that you are going to have over a long period of time. I would say mentally you commit yourself to 2 years, that this is now your business that you're building, and the process that you're going to take is not starting here trying to chase income, although we're going to talk about what the mechanisms are to do that. You start here by adjusting your mindset that you need to think about building your influence. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean an audience of people who are the right people that you can help, who know you, who like you, and who over time start to trust you. So that is the first phase of a digital business. And it is the phase that is often skipped out because there are a lot of people out there who will tell you that you can put a technical funnel together. A funnel is an online process that you take people through where they buy your stuff, and you're going to become a millionaire overnight, and you're going to have an audience of millions. And that's just not how it works. How it works first is the first phase. This first phase here is about building your audience. And in order to even know what audience to build, you've got to do quite a lot of prep work. Because right now, you can let me know in the comments, if you have a business, you've got a customer, you've got a person that you serve right now, right? And there may be some tweaks that are necessary for business for you, who you serve right now currently, or who you teach right now currently, to be able to find those people online. So there's some preparation work where you determine who you're serving, how their life is going to be changed, and how you're going to help them. And if you don't do that preparation work, you won't even know what audience to build. But building the actual audience happens through a very simple but difficult process of publishing. Now, what do I mean by publishing? I mean, you have got to contribute your voice to the conversation that's happening in your industry with regards to issues that impact that audience. So the obvious thing is us here. In a way, the session itself is an audience building session in my business where I am publishing my knowledge, my opinions, my content on the digital business industry. To you, someone who wants to amplify their legacy and build a digital business. So what I had to do to prep for this, just to be quite meta and talk about what we're doing right here now and how you can apply that to your business, what I had to prep for this was think about what are the challenges that somebody is facing who wants to start a digital business. Well, you might think that you're not tech ready. You might have done it all and bought all the courses before. You might have no foggy clue how to start and you need the phases. Do you see how all of my preparation around who you are and how I can help you influences what my audience building activity is going to look like? So what I want to do here, because this is an interactive session, is pause and let you think about who your audience is right now. You're poised to amplify your legacy work. You've probably been giving keynotes, you've probably given some kind of workshops, you've got some kind of business where you are ready to teach and get your message out there. Let me know in the comments, and I'll take a couple of moments to read through a few, and we can talk about them in detail, is who is your audience and what problem are you solving? Oh no, yeah, your candle blew out. It's exhausting because there's so many different people telling you so many different things. But if you hear nothing else, this is your $1,000 value comment I'm about to make. Choose an audience and begin publishing with them so that you can build your influence. Because I'll give you a perfect example. You've obviously even heard the word influencer. There's two ways that you can go about selling digital courses. There's one, you get an audience already, sometimes by accident. You become an influencer. Tons of people care about what you have to say. You build a following. And then you realize, wow, I've got all this influence. Let me monetize that influence and I will launch a product. That's one way, and that's almost like an accidental way. There are a few people who've done it like that. Sorelle Amore is one of them. I'll show you her in a moment. She was a travel blogger and a YouTuber, and she had this audience of thousands, in fact, millions. And she was like, wow, how can I monetize that? And she released a course. Okay, that's one way, but it's actually the very hard way. The other way, which is the way that we are talking about here, is to reverse engineer it. You've got something you want to sell. You've got some impact you want to have. So you have to go about building an audience. But the mechanism for audience building is the exact same as somebody who became an accidental influencer. It's publishing. And you have to choose what your format is. Are you going to publish via video? Are you going to publish via audio? Are you going to publish via text? And deciding that is going to be based on your strengths. Are you good at video? I'm very strong on video. Here I am. I like to do video. So my publishing medium is video. And then I have a team to support me to convert that into text and audio. But maybe you're strong on audio. Like I'm going to show you one of my clients, Jude. One of her main publishing methods in audio is a podcast. Or maybe your most comfortable publishing mechanism is text, like blog articles. But you have to, and I recommend you choose just one and lean into it and get regular and get consistent, because a couple of things are going to happen. Your voice is going to get clearer, who you're serving and what problem solving is going to get clearer, and you are going to build your audience. Now, of course, you're going to have get strategic about that and have some kind of LiveRise is an audience building mechanism. It's a free event. So sometimes these are called lead magnets, strategic freebies, sometimes they're called ethical bribes. These events or documents or checklists or cheat sheets or mini courses, even sometimes, where somebody gives you their email address in exchange for this valuable thing that you're giving them. So that is a very deliberate way to build your audience. And what you do then is you're building an email database of people who you care about, whose problems you actually can solve, and you are building a relationship with them. So that is a very important phase. So if we had to number them, first one, get clear. Who am I helping? How am I helping them? How am I going to help them? What is my mechanism? What's my free thing? What is my publishing method? Which platform am I going to use? Is it going to be LinkedIn? Is it going to be Instagram? I always recommend choosing one. Once you've done that prep, then you can move into two, the audience building phase. We're already covering the 2 phases of the 5 phases of a digital business. Okay, I see there's been lots of chatting while I've been talking. I'm coming to read a couple of them. Jenny prefers writing. Okay, Lauren's saying, so she's talking about her audience. Great. Parents whose children are being asked to leave mainstream schools because they're not keeping up. Okay, that's your audience, Lauren. What are you helping them with? I'd love to hear about that. And that sounds like you've got an overlap with one of my fantastic clients who's in my Legacy League Mastermind already, who I'm going to show you in a moment, and there can be some introduction. So tell me, how are you solving that problem if that's your audience, Lauren? While I'm waiting for you to answer that, let me find some more. Marinda says, my audience is spiritual women who care deeply about animals and the fur kids in their lives. And the problem that you solve for them is to help them find out what the animals think, either by having a conversation with the animals for them or by teaching them how to communicate with animals. Fantastic. So next steps is, how are you building an audience of those women? I'd love to know if you've got a lead magnet out there, some kind of strategic freebie. If you've chosen your platform, let me know. Where are you going to publish? What medium are you going to publish in? How are you going to build up a database of those women who get to know you, like you, and trust you? Linda says 50 plus individuals in transition in their life. Linda, I recognize you. Hello. So lovely to see you here. I'm so excited for us to have that connection. 50 plus individuals are transitioning in their lives who need to work for longer. Your course helps them to design their pathway. I'd love to know about the publishing piece for you, Linda. Are you publishing? What is your medium and where are you publishing? Fantastic. So we've got to the 2 most important phases. I started with them, obviously, because they're the first and the second phase. But I want to just really, I want to stamp my feet and just emphasize they are the most important. And they often get left out for a bunch of reasons. And I'll talk about myself here, because I've been in this boat. People often don't want to choose an audience, a person that they serve. It's sometimes called a niche or an avatar, because it feels like you're leaving other people out. I know. I felt this. You aren't. You aren't. You aren't going to be leaving out the people who you can actually help, but you are. You are absolutely cutting out other people. If you are feeling like it's not easy for you to find a message, it's not easy for you to find what to publish about, it is because you haven't got specific enough about your audience. And part of what I do with the clients that I work with and what we are introducing in the Legacy League, which kicks off in the second half of the year, is a daily prompt to help you know what to say to those people. But before that, you have to have got married to that person. You have to decide, okay, what's happened to the camera? Let me turn it back on. Give me a sec. Sorry about that. It's back. You have to decide and then choose to ignore everyone who isn't your audience. So if you have been struggling to publish here, there's a couple of reasons why. One is you haven't got specific enough about your audience. I'm just giving you these valuable gems here. And if you have got specific enough, you don't have the structure and the habit of publishing. As I say, that's what the Legacy League is about. It's about helping you get into the habit of publishing. If you are publishing every couple of months and then you forget, and then You think, okay, I must do it, and then you flog yourself because you haven't. I just want to tell you that is a 100% relatable experience. Almost every single person that I've worked with has that problem. And the solution is consistent publishing and shifting into the mindset of being a publisher. Karen says, extremely difficult to pick up an audience within the charity business supporting children with special needs. Tell me more about that, Karen. Who is the actual audience member? Lauren says, I love the daily prompt idea. It would set your headspace that you need to be talking to the client. It is. It's essential. I personally have been participating in the experience where I'm getting a daily prompt, and it is streamlining my thoughts like nobody's business. And it's so easy. It doesn't have to be complicated. So far, the prompts I've been following, if you are in this actual campaign, was day one, tell your origin story. And I sent it out to a lot of you in the reminder emails. Day two, talk about why you're different. Day three, celebrate a win. Day four, I've been literally following prompts, and it just makes everything so easy. So that is very important, to get your hands on some prompts. Either write them out for yourself, or later, if you're interested, when you talk about being part of the Legacy League, you'll be getting those prompts. Is there anything else? Obviously, I'm going high level through the business model phases. Is there anything else around audience building and prep that anybody wants to ask? Because it is the most important phase. It is how you build your influence. You cannot start at this point where most people are telling you to start, where you just start running. You just make a course and you sell it. While I wait for questions. Oh, there's a question. Hold on, I see there's a question side. Question from Helen. How do I find out if there would be a demand for a course on how to create a healing garden? The way to find out about that is create the demand. I know that sounds so backwards, but the course making and selling is here. And this is where, do you know that like way beyond 80% of courses that get made never, ever, ever have one sale? And it's because somebody makes the course and then they start going to look for someone to sell it to, because they're starting in the middle of the process. Heavens alive, my video's gone again. Just trying to see if there's a way to change over to a different camera, because this lovely camera is turning off and on and off and on and on and off, which is obviously not useful. And there doesn't seem to be. Let me just plug it and unplug it. Sorry, gals and guys, give me one sec. The joy. Do not turn off again. Cheeky camera. Got no idea why that's happening. Okay, so a lot of people, and maybe this is you already have a course and you're like, oh, I've made a course and nobody's bought it. It's because of this issue first. To come back to your question, Helen, I promise you, if you build an audience of people who are interested in creating a healing garden, and the way that you find out if they're interested in creating a healing garden is you think deeply about who they are. Who is that problem? Who is that person? What problem are they facing? Are they sick? What do they like doing? What are their habits? What are their habits? What are their hobbies? And you start building a following and get influence with those people. When you launch a course to them, yes, they will buy it. But you first have to have the relationship and the influence. And of course, there's a lot of strategic messaging that has to happen, which is why I do what I do. I work with people to help them comment on their messaging. But once you have an audience, then you move into the income phase, which is to monetize the audience. You notice I've got income before impact here. The reason I've got income before impact is because you want your business to become self-funding. Yes, there are investments you're going to have to make upfront. You are going to have to invest in some kind of program or a ton of time watching free content and a ton of your energy. But you do want your business to become self-sustaining through the income that it generates once you've made that initial investment. And if you want to talk about the investment scale, I told you you got time, you got money, you got energy. The more energy and time you spend yourself, perhaps the less money you can spend. But the less time you want to waste and the less of your own energy you want to spend, the more money you're going to have to invest to have a team or a mentor to help you. So that's the time, money, energy equation. So coming to this income phase, the way that you launch a course is through an event. And in the digital business world, it's called launching. It literally is called launching. Now, this is often what people are thinking about when they talk about business models. Who knows about launching already? Let me know in the comments. Who knows what kind of launch events are happening out there? There's definitely been a trend in the market of a launch event. There's a launch from a webinar. So I asked you earlier, who's seen things being sold from webinar before? So that is a free webinar where you get the opportunity to let people know, like, and trust you. You genuinely deliver value. And at the end, you open enrollment for your course. So that's one method. And that was the method that I used to use in my Airbnb business, was a launch from webinar method. And I used to use a formula created by somebody called Russell Brunson called the perfect webinar. If you've been to tons of webinars, you've seen that formula used. It has become a little bit tired and exhausting now, and people are not trustful of that. So people moved away from the launch from webinar event style because they became distrustful of it, especially post-COVID. The show up rates became quite low and it became too expensive, because that's something, this is a no holds barred reveal. These events cost money to run. Maybe you don't know this, but when you sign up for an event, a free event, whether it's a challenge, I see somebody writing challenge there. Is it Lucia? How do I pronounce your name? Whether it's a free or paid event, the ad that you saw on Facebook cost me money to show to you and cost me per person who signed up. Ariana, I don't know if you're in here, but you can let me know what you can put in the comments if you are. Ariana is one of my team members who runs ads. You can let us know in the comments, full transparency, what the ad spend was for this event. Why? Because for each person who showed up, I gave Facebook, Mr. Zuckerberg, some money. Why? Because I'm building my audience. Why? Because ultimately I'm filling my mastermind. So if you're paying Facebook for each person who signs up for your webinar, but then your people are not coming to your webinar, that's expensive for you. So the launch mechanism changed. Licia should be spelled phonetically, Licia. So, as I say, Rian, there we go. 30 to 40 Rand per person to sign up is how much I paid to host this event. I paid Facebook. So if you're here, I literally paid Facebook 30 to 40 Rand for you to be here. Why? Because it's part of the business model of building an audience of influence. So if you're getting 300 people to sign up for your webinar, which is how many people sign up today, but only 5 people come, that becomes out of fashion. So that's why free webinars went out of fashion. The next thing that you might have seen is called paid mini workshops. Maybe you've seen these. So these are a little bit like webinars, the short format, but you pay to attend, and you usually leave with like one thing you can tick off your bucket list. These are still trendy and cool. They're quite challenging to get right because you're getting people to give you money up front, but it is one of the strategies that's still working. So that is a free short form training, a paid short form training. Then I saw in the comments there's challenges. Yes, a challenge is like a 5-day event. You get free ones, which are still being called challenges. Come to my free 5-day live stream series or my free 5-day event. And then you also get paid challenges, which are at the moment in the industry being called boot camps. So that is a paid challenge. And these are usually low tickets. So low ticket in this industry is like $15, $27, up to $47. I think it's probably about as much as you could get somebody to pay you cold off of an ad to come to your mini workshop or your paid bootcamp. And these launch events, these launch mechanisms are used when you've really got to build a lot of like and trust. Okay? Because ultimately at the end, you're selling something much more expensive. So somebody has to really get to know you, like you, and trust you, spend time with you every day in a 5-day challenge. Now, what some people don't realize, I was very happy to put the cost per lead in the language, the amount I paid old Zucks to let you sign up for my webinar so you could be here. The cost per lead gets factored in to the launch numbers. And these numbers are fairly predictable. If you've got your messaging right, if you've done this prep work, holy cow, this camera is getting a bit irritating. Off and on, off and on, off and on, the camera goes off and on. If you've done your prep work and you've really dialed in your messaging and you've been publishing and you've built up your audience, then you can feel confident to start making the kind of investments based on the conversion metrics. When I say conversion metric, it means the amount of people who sign up for your free thing versus the amount of people who come or engage with your free thing versus the amount of people who buy your next free thing. And I'll talk about the old webinar model. I don't recommend anybody launches from a free webinar and offers a course anymore. But in that old model, it used to be, we'll talk in thousands. If 1,000 people sign up, now remember you're paying 30 or 40 Rand per person. Okay, if 1,000 people sign up, then you can expect a 20 to 40% show up rate. That means 200 to 400 people would show up live. As I said, these are the golden years before COVID when launch from webinar was a thing. You could expect 200 to 400 people to show up on your webinar. And then you could expect 5 to 10, depending on your skills and your message and how well you did all your prep work, 5% of people to buy your course that you had on sale. That is what launching is about. Launching is actually very formulaic. It's very meticulous. It's depending on tried and tested industry numbers. So let's run the maths on this. What is 1,000 people signing up at 30 Rand? So 30,000. Is that right? Somebody help me, because my strength is teaching digital marketing, not maths. So say you're going to spend 30,000 Rand on ads, then 200 to 400 people are going to come. Let's just say 300 for ease, are going to come to your webinar, and you're going to make an offer for a 10,000 Rand course at the end of your webinar. Who's got their calculators in the comments? Sorry about this bloody camera. It seems to just want me to turn it back on. So if 300 people come and 10% of 300 is 30, is that right? So 30 people are going to buy your course for 10,000 Rand. That's going to be what's called a 300,000 Rand launch. So those are example numbers of how you calculate, even in your planning and your prepping phase, how to launch an online course. Now, some of you might be sitting here thinking, holy shit, I just learned that you actually pay people on Facebook. You pay Facebook for people to sign up for my stuff. I had no idea about this. Well, that's what this session is about. It's to give you the high level business model. And the reason that you do that, the reason that you're brave enough to say, here, Facebook, take 30,000 Rand. I'm running an event. I want 1,000 people to sign up. It's because you're confident that you've done your prep. You've built an audience of people who know, like, and trust you. And then you've chosen the right launch mechanism to let people see you, understand how you're going to impact them, understand how you're going to amplify their lives in some way, and then you make them an offer. I've either terrified all of you, you've all fainted, or I've stunned you out of being able to speak. Anybody still there? Comments? Is this the first time you're getting the behind the scenes on the business model of launching? Anyone? Nobody? Am I still here? Alana is still here. Yes. Alana, and anyone else is still there. It's the point that I'm trying to get across, which is that you take a very calculated approach to launching. Has that landed? Are you following me? Are you with me on the idea that you choose a launch method and you invest? You say, okay, I'm going to run ads. I'm going to get people to come to this thing. Then I'm going to show them why I'm amazing. I'm going to show them why the work I do is very important for their life. Then I'm going to make them an offer. Oh, good. I see people are here. Miranda's here. Karen's still here. Disha's still here. Good. Okay. So that was an example of a webinar. And that's how you hear these stories. I made 300,000 Rand on my course launch. I want to tell you this. That doesn't usually happen first time around. Has that kind of launch happened to me? Yes, of course. But what usually happens is you do a little bit of this. You haven't done this in a lot of detail. Maybe you got an audience. You do some kind of launch event. Nobody shows up and nobody buys. That's the more common experience, and it's why I do what I do, is to help people through that process. Because even with help, you might launch the first time and you learn that your message was wrong or your offer was wrong. And you speak with the people who came, like I'm speaking with you here now, and you find out what did they actually want, what messaging works better. Okay, so coming back to the launch, we've got free webinars. People are still doing this. And by the way, these can be live, like I am now, or they can be called what's evergreen. You must have had that experience before. I still have some of these running, I confess, where you sign up and there's a person going, hey, welcome. And you see the comments going up, and actually it's a recording. Okay, so those are definitely becoming bad fashion. You can have what's now called an on-demand webinar, where it's clear that it's a recording, but you still get value and you can still make a buying decision. So there's free, live, and on-demand. There's paid, live, and on-demand. There's free, challenge, live. These are always live. Paid, challenge, live. Those are your main launch mechanisms available to you now, where you can take advantage of the one-to-many approach. You get a whole ton of people whose eyeballs are on you and what you offer at one moment, and then you can invite them to the next step in your program. Okay, so this is the income model. And what a lot of people don't consider is that if you have a magic unicorn launch like this, which is totally possible, it'll probably be on your second or third try, Then you're going to take a portion of that revenue and you're going to put it back into ads. You're not just going to go on a holiday to Mauritius, because you have to grow. If you had 1,000 people sign up the first time, you probably want 2,000 the next time. So you might have to spend double on ads or more. And I'm not giving you this like hard cold facts to put you off. I'm giving you the hard cold facts because it's worth it. It's worth learning all these skills, hiring all the right people, and putting in the effort to get this right. Because once you stay in the trenches for a year or 2 years, this starts to compound. Once you've found what your right launch mechanism is, what your best groove is, and you've got the audience of people, you've got the influence, the income element can start to compound. And there are people, I'm going to show you now in a moment, there are people who are on their second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, 10th year, where the compounding is phenomenal. And then you move into the third phase, which is impact. So what have we got? Phase 1, do your prep. Phase 2, build your audience. Phase 3, launch your program. Phase 4, run the program. And then the 5th phase is review, rinse, and repeat. That means look at your numbers, look at the results that your audience got. Review, rinse, repeat. Look at the numbers. Look at the result that your audience got. Rinse as in improve it, tweak it, and then repeat is you do another launch. Some people launch once a year, some people launch twice a year, some people launch 4 times a year. Lucia, what about conference style launches, many speakers, and then an offer? Yes, that is another kind of launch event. Eventing, live events. I mean, those are, for obvious reasons, went very out of fashion recently. But running a live event and doing a sell from stage, the exact same mechanism is involved. There's a formula to what you say. As I told you right in the beginning, this session we're on now is not one of these. I will do a more formulaic session in the future for you to see, or I can send you links to ones I've done in the past. You don't just arrive like I am and teach and then expect people to buy your course at the end. That's not what happens. That's not what I'm doing here. I am bucking the trend because I'm not trying to sell you a course. But there's very, very specific messaging you have to use in these launch events to filter out the people who aren't right, attract the people who are right, become compelling, that they believe that they can actually do the thing that your course says they're going to be able to do, so that they are poised to buy. So there's lots of planning and prep. I would say a planning and prep for a launch here is 3 months minimum. From the moment you decide you're going to launch to all of the things that you have to do to launch, like write the copy. Copy is the word for all of the writing involved, the emails that go out, the ads that go out, the emails that remind you to come. I mean, you got some of those here. There was a lot of copy involved, even in this event. The sales page copy, the page where they sign up for the free thing, that's called the opt-in page copy. There's probably about 60 Microsoft Word pages of copy involved in a launch. Then there's lots of tech. There's the page that you signed up on to come here. There's going to be the page afterwards to apply for my mastermind. There's going to be the sales page. There's going to be a way to take payment. There's a payment gateway. There's a whole bunch of tech. There is the event training, what you're actually going to teach, and then how you're going to make the offer. The offer is the thing that somebody's buying. So the planning and prep phase of that, the writing, the setting up of the tech, the running of the ads, the building up of the audience, you want to do that kind of over 3 months. And it absolutely can be done at a live event. In fact, I have done a sell from stage before. It was definitely one of the more harrowing experiences I've had in my life, but it's very exhilarating. That was for the Airbnb business. Attend online sessions, live, or buy tickets. Yes, So any kind of eventing or conference is another launch mechanism. It's not one that I've ever done, a live virtual event, but it is one that people are using and also a ton of work to put together. The online course is a product. Is there another level of this where the online product leads to further in-person sales? Yeah, absolutely. So that what you're talking about now, Lauren, is your value ladder, your ascension ladder. So you come into somebody's world usually for free or a low ticket, then you buy a DIY course normally, then you would escalate in the ascension ladder to group coaching. So that's a course that's got some kind of live component. And then you would normally, the next step is to ascend there to one-on-one coaching. So that's a higher ticket. Or there you ascend to the top, which is called a mastermind. That's very, very high touch. You're in touch with the expert. You're in touch with a few people who are damn serious. And that's typically the model. And you can chop and change any of these. I don't have a DIY course or group coaching. I've just got one-on-one and mastermind. So I just leapfrog those because I feel like it's crowded. But absolutely, you can lead in your funnel to any one of those. Okay, sure. I feel like I've fire hose, guys. We just got a couple of minutes left. Who would like to see some examples of people doing this? People who've got this right. Just as we come to a close, and before in fact, not even before, I've mentioned my mastermind hundreds of times. There is an application, if you are interested in working with me on any of these levels, I've got a couple of ways you can do that. The first one is I have a day where I take you through this prep phase. It's a VIP offering. It's you and I. We look at who your audience is, what their pain points are, what your launch mechanism is going to be, what your numbers are, the full tootie. Because I know as you've been doing this, you're like, I've got an idea, but I wish someone would just like look if my idea is shit or not. So there's an application process for that. Rian, if you're still here, can you just put that in the comments for me? It's tamron.co/apply. It's to sit and have my brain on this prep phase for you, where we map out all of this stuff for your business. And then after that day, you're going to be so clear. You're going to be like, wow, I've got my numbers set. I know exactly what I have to do. But boy, I don't want to go it alone. Then I have the Legacy League, which is a mastermind. And what that is 10 women who are in the same boat doing the same thing. So that would be the next step. My first step, we have to do your prep. So if you want to see examples, perfect. So that link will be around if you want to apply. Your application may or may not be successful. It's obviously a huge investment. It's a lot of time, but it's there if you want it. People who are doing this, I'm sharing my screen now. Here's a lovely example. I've got some international examples. I've got some local examples. A huge international example of someone doing this very well is Denise Duffield Thomas. Okay, she is 10 years into her business. So remember on the screen here where I talked about compounding, she launched her very first version of her signature program. She's got one program she sells 10 years ago. And the first round of people, she had 30 students. It's a $2,000 product. And she launches via a live 3-part training series. So a little bit like a challenge. Okay. 10 years later, she has 6,000 people. I'm in her community. I'll show you just for fun. Open my Facebook live on a training. That's always dangerous, but I want to show you she's got a private Facebook group, which I'm in almost by accident. It's called Money Bootcamp. So what Denise Duffield Thomas does is she teaches women about money mindset. There we go. There's her group. So not everybody who bought her program is in this group, But a lot of people who bought your program are in this group. And you can see there, she's got 8,200 people who've bought her $2,000 product. And every single day, people come in here. I'm not going to, it's private. I can't show you what they're saying. But they come in there and they share victories they've had in their own business. So she supports women who want to earn more money. She has a series of books, and her launch mechanism is a once a year event. She's at the 10th year of her business, so she also has affiliate partners. That means other people who send their audience who know, like, and trust them to her launch event. So that's the kind of the apex of this business model. Her publishing, as in what is she doing to build her audience? She has a blog and she publishes blog posts. I see she's also more recently released a podcast. So that is her business model. And she has really and truly become a titan in this space. The next example is a local one. Yeah, homegrown, South African. She's called Anne Wilson. Some of you know her. I've seen a couple of you guys here in the chat. I've also been in Anne Wilson's community. I know Anne, and she has a flagship program that opens for enrollment once a year called Financial Freedom University. I think it's also at the $2,000 price point, and she helps people build assets, get control of their personal finance, and start investing. Her publishing mechanism is also a blog. And you'll probably, if you're in South Africa, been seeing some of her ads. She also runs paid traffic and has a huge event once a year. Magnificent course, which I've also done. Magnificent business model that she has, make huge impact. If you look at Anne Wilson's Facebook page, I think she is on 90,000 followers by now, but she started from nothing also within the last 10 years. I first met Anne, came into contact with Anne Wilson's work, so 96,000 followers now in terms of her influence and her audience building. But when I first came into contact with her work, it was 2015. She also follows Jeff Walker because that's how I met her. I met her at a Jeff Walker related event, and she wasn't even halfway to here. So compounding. Then a huge megastar and an example of someone who did it the other way around, Mel Robbins. She recently launched using a launch mechanism for the very first time. She was one of those people who first built an audience and thought, holy hell, I should monetize this. And she launched using a free 3-part video series. Recently, you might have seen her ads called the Spring Reset. And then after the event, which had a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, she opened enrollment for her coaching program, which I think was called Launch with Mel Robbins. So those are 3 examples of where you can really get impact after you allow it to compound. The real trick is the consistency, the commitment to the business model, and the compounding over and over again in this review, rinse, and repeat. A couple of local examples of people who I've been working with who are in this beginning phase, influence and income, is Joy. Joy Chimombe, I met through the Airbnb world. And her very first program and her very first audience she started developing was in golf fitness coaching. She bought a Jeff Walker program, which is the same guy who Denise Duffield-Thomas and Anne Wilson follow. Like I said, there's some fantastic courses in the industry already, and one of them that I recommend is Product Launch Formula. And Joy worked through Product Launch Formula with me as her, what I call digital wing woman, and she launched Better Golf Body. That was her first program, and had her first round of students. And when she was in her review, rinse, and repeat phase, she got approached by an investor because she had built the audience, because she had built up that influence. And they said, hey, Joy, we see what you're doing. We recognize that you're an influencer. We see that you've got a couple of thousand people following you. We'd love to invest in you to put out a fitness program. So Joy has been working on a second audience and a second launch mechanism called Better Golf Body, where she, called, what's it called? Bucket List Life. I can't even remember now. She basically teaches people how to build the body that they need to fulfill their bucket list. And that was all because she decided to really lean into the audience building phase. So Joy is from Zim originally, but she lives here in South Africa, and she's one of my fantastic clients that I love working with. Then another example of somebody local who is doing some serious legacy work, another client of mine, Beulah, who is also in this audience phase. Beulah is an educational psychologist who has developed this groundbreaking body of work and an assessment around how practitioners can truly deliver therapeutic interventions for neurodiverse children. And she is building up an audience of practitioners who can amplify her groundbreaking work, and a set of schools where that work is used in the school environment. So Beulah is also building up her audience and putting her launch mechanisms in place. And then the last example, a local example, very new example, recent example, is Jude, another client of mine who is a future smart parent. And Jude has a podcast, a membership site. So that's another paid audience building mechanism. You can't have paid audience building. And what's happening with Jude? Let's go to the Facebook page, Future Smart Parent. And as a result of the audience building, Jude has been able to feature some really prominent thought leaders in the South African education space, and even some international ones partnering with various different people. So you can see how doing your important prep work, and then building an audience so that you can ultimately have that influence and impact is the very important first phase that a lot of people forget. So out of these 5 people that I've shown you, I'm very familiar with the business models of Mel Robbins, Ann Wilson, Denise Duffield-Thomas. Is there any specific questions you want to ask? We can hang around. It's question time now. I can answer any questions that you have around what their launch mechanisms are like, what their business model is like, or any of the phases for the influence, income, impact model. Natalie, I always wanted to learn more about Anne. Yeah, Anne's work is amazing, very, very impactful. She is definitely doing her legacy work. And if Anne's story in a nutshell is that she became financially free through investing, and then thought, hell's bells, what do I do with my time? I need to teach other people how to do this, and started her legacy business. She is definitely the classic definition of a legacy person doing their legacy work. I see everybody is still here. Linda has to run. So lovely, so wonderful. I'm so glad you came, Linda. What a wonderful way to meet, and I can't wait to connect. Enjoy your flight and your holiday. Any other questions? We're here. Everybody who started here is still here. That's amazing. That is definitely the definition of a victory session. Tons of value. I know I have had a no holds barred taking you through the business model and what it looks like. I'll just stop screen sharing so you can remember all of this stuff. You can take a photo of this and send it out via email so that you guys can remember. But it is a lot. It's a lot to take in, but it's the full landscape. Lauren's asking, how involved are you in the process of development? How do you mean, Lauren? You mean how involved am I personally with my clients? Or how involved you have to be in the development of your stuff? You have to be very involved. With my clients, with my Wing Woman offer, we have an intensive day where we map stuff out. I've got a whole bunch of templates and and tech templates where they can import all the tech pages into their accounts, and templates for all of the copy, those 60 pages of copy. That all comes with this first day. And then if they stay with me in the Wing Woman, like Jude and Villa and who else did I show you there? Joy or Dina, then we meet once a week. We talk about what they had to do if they achieved it. We set what they have to do for the next week in order to reach their launch goals and deadlines or their program development. And then in between, they've got access to me on WhatsApp. So I get all manner of WhatsApp's questions. Hey, what about this? Hey, can you look at this page? Hey, can you review this copy? Hey, is this a bad idea? Hey, is this a good idea? So that's how involved I am. And how involved you have to be for your own business? Very. It's a new business and it's a lot of work. The biggest and hardest shift is into this mindset of being an audience building publisher. You have to publish. You have to show up. You have to contribute to the conversation in your industry. You have to give your opinions. You don't have to be the guru, but you can contribute to the conversation that's happening in your industry. Solana, what if it's a crowded market? Same thing done over and over. Solana, tell me more about the market. I'd love to hear about that. Because I went on it. There's always a niche market. You might have heard this blue ocean, red ocean story. Have you? Red ocean is the idea of a crowded market. Lots of fish in the sea and lots of sharks eating them, spilling the blood, making it red. Disgusting analogy, but that's what a red ocean market means. Very busy. What happens is, what you need to do is step out and create a blue ocean. And that doesn't mean that you're selling something different. You can still be selling a course where there's to a unique person. So you don't get more crowded than the online course launch industry. Yet here we are together, spending time together, you and I. Here I am, my camera's back on, miraculous. Because my blue ocean, red, people who want to do their legacy work and who want to work one-on-one with people. So you can always have an offer or a service to a specific person or their point in their journey that you can help that is not as crowded. So that's one thing. And the second thing is your relationship with your audience and how much they like you and what they like about you. You know, I'm bold, I'm quirky, I wear bright red lipstick, I'm a bit over the top. Some people will like that. Some people will be. That's wonderful, because people who aren't for me are not going to be a good fit. They're not going to be in my master ultimately, which is the way that I work with people. So I wouldn't worry much about things being crowded. So somatic body work, wellness workshops, your unique way of your messaging, your unique people who like you, your unique people who find your publishing valuable will work with you no matter how many other people are out there. Plus, on top of that, you might be able to find a unique point in somebody's journey, a very specific kind of person who needs somatic body work and wellness workshops. Hope that answers that. Someone who's signed in with my own email address, I invested in Udemy-like program with Done For You courses. Cool, I'd love to hear the name of it. There are tons of courses, tons. Like, I don't know who that is because you're showing up. You're just showing up as my email address, which is kind of weird. Elna, I loved my energy. Thank you. Couldn't be different even if I tried. I'm a bit zany. Gonna tell it like it is. And that is what my business bestie, digital wing woman clients love about me. I am also getting quite hot. I think we've been on the call now just over an hour, which I think is a fantastic time to bring to an end. I don't see any new questions here. So I think we're going to bring this lovely session to a close, guys, unless there's something else. Oh, it's Junaid. Hello, Junaid. That's it from me. That's the shizzle. That is the scoop. I hope I've both terrified you and inspired you. And the reason I say that is it is a huge, terrifying journey to start a new business, particularly one that is involves digital and numbers and metrics and ad spend. But if you are serious about your legacy work, your life's work, you want to become the Ann Wilson in 10 years' time, or the Denise Duffield Thomas, or the Dr. Beulah in 2 years' time, or the Joy this time next year, then you've got to start and you've got to invest one of your 3 investment levers: time, money, or energy, by getting into putting your time and your money and your energy into a community of people who can help you, a mentor like myself who works one-on-one with people, and committing mentally that you are going to start benefiting from this compound rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. If that is you, I'd love to see you in my application form, and I look forward to our next live session. Bye-bye, everyone. Yeah, legacy work, me too. I love it. I love that title. See you all. Thank you so much for coming. Very eye-opening. Yes, got to go in eyes wide open. I'll see you in my next session. Ciao. Ciao, 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 ciao. Bye, 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 bye.